Carrie, I'm just gonna toss the ball back to you. And just before we went live, I said, "Oh my goodness, make sure you both say everything that you said in the last few minutes." And it was like, "Oh no, or, "Oh, yes, I wanna make sure that people know this about me." I love that you actually used the word research, that research is part of your training and that you applied it to your own life, and now you've made it, accessible, something that other people can gain, um, a little spark from, or I don't know how deep you go with this. Carrie, tell us about the research and why how you applied it to your life.
Well, we started talking because Isabel let us know that she has 9 grandchildren. And of course, I am the founder of the long distance grandparent. And I said, well, I'm not a grandparent, but I am. And people are sometimes surprised when they invite me onto a podcast, for example, or to interview me about something they're expecting to see a grandparent. But I'm the parent and in the partnership between grandparents and parents. And it really does take a partnership for people to stay connected. But I spent a long time as a researcher in the area, mainly in family caregiving, but also looking at healthcare system issues, how different healthcare providers can work with families to improve experiences. And I worked with a tech company after a postdoc that I did, and it was just fascinating because I could see how we took the research about family caregiving, what we already know, and then I would be able to talk to developers, and then I would just see it in an app and see it come alive. And I think I probably became a little bit addicted at that stage to, if we take the things that we already know about the world, about people, about relationships, and apply those to products and services, then I think that we can really make a big
Right.
dent in some of the social issues that we're facing. And so when I became a parent, I always like to say that I birthed 6 long distance grandparents. And at the same time, and everybody was so excited. I was, of course, very overwhelmed as a new mother. I was an older mother. A lot of my friends had had children already,
Mhm.
but everybody was at a distance. And then we got transferred to Dubai. So we were living in Canada, quite a happy little life, and then got transferred to Dubai, became ultra long distance. And I realized that I would need to step it up. Started to look into the research about communication, technology. We know that one of the biggest risk factors to not have a close relationship with a grandchild is actually geographic proximity. We don't have a lot of recent research about that. I suspect that's changing because of things like this, where we can talk on video chat, play games with kids. And that's what I teach grandparents to do. But I pull from child development research, you name it. I have looked at it and incorporated it into different types of snail mail to send grandchildren. I provide video chat ideas all the time. And I get to do some really amazing work with some very intentional grandparents.
Fantastic. My mother is 93,
Mhm.
and she said, "Since you're gonna be 2,000 miles away, I would like to receive emails." So I've taken that to heart. I'm going, "And we can still talk on the phone." And she explained why it doesn't quite do it for her. So, I mean, she's turning 93 in just a few days. I've got her birthday card right there ready to take it to the post office because our stuff is still packed. I mean, we are still living out of suitcases, and the big roll of stamps is, I guess, on its way from Killeen, Texas to Waco, Texas. And I so I've been intentional about emailing, even if it's just a picture, even if it's just a quick phrase. I saw this the other day. And then other times it's an opportunity to pour me out. And I think I'm going to keep evolving through what did she say last time? I'll be able to go through the emails and know that she was really happy about this, or she saw a hummingbird. They're still coming to that plant that's somehow still alive after a hot summer, whatever. And I thought, this will be different than phone calls, which I can't scroll back through and see what was it that we were talking about. So I'm really grateful that she expressed what she needed. And I think it's fun, Carrie, that you said that I don't talk to parents. I talk to grandparents.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I don't know if you're discluding them or if they're just not part of this right now. You are, I don't know, are you a catalyst coach? Is there a better words to describe you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely am coaching grandparents. One of the reasons that I don't specifically focus on parents is I did a focus group early in before starting the long distance grandparent, and the
Right.
parents said, actually, we're really overwhelmed with everything we've got going on. It would be phenomenal if the grandparents could take a little bit of a lead. And so they understand, parents understand that they need to do, like, they need to scaffold the relationship, right? We have this term, and like scaffolds the conversation, and by saying like, tell Nanny what you did today or whatever that might be. But if Nana can get onto a video chat with a game ready to play, something silly on your face, recognizing that kids' attention spans are actually quite short. You're not going to likely have a 2-hour chat with your 5-year-old grandchild, or even a 10-minute chat. I mean, if you get 5 minutes out of a 5-year-old, that's fantastic. It's a great moment. And so parents said, if grandparents could have some tools, to make the video calls more interesting, even to send mail that is really interesting for kids, then that would be helpful. And so that really shifted things for me. And it's really why I work with grandparents. And also because since I was 19 and I'm 48 now, I have been involved in aging and care research. And I have always had a passion for the contributions that older adults make. As I approach 50 at this point, when someone on average actually women become grandparents on average in their early 50s. And I have a couple friends who will be becoming grandparents. And so, it's something that older people, something that I've always cared about from the time, I started volunteering in long-term care facilities. So it is the common thread. And, I suppose the aspect of aging that I've always been interested in is the relationships. We know that relationships are key in healthcare, but we also know within families. And if we can teach children how to not be ageist, as an example, right? We know when kids have positive relationships with their grandparents, they're less ageist. And this happens at a very young age. And so there are a lot of reasons, within
Yes, it
families, but
does.
also broadly speaking in society, why we should all care about the relationship between grandparents and grandchildren.
Enter stage left, Isabel Alexander, who embodies this, taking the lead, putting up the scaffold, you know, doing the prompts. I thought of the simplest thing, but if you if you don't have a starting point, you don't realize that the scaffolding is needed. I mean, just to send a coloring page from your adult coloring book and tearing one out and putting it in and licking the envelope like I did this morning and mailing it. And then when you get on screen, it's like, I worked on this one, but I gave you the next page. How far have you gotten on it?
Mhm.
Oh, what an opener. What a um breaks down that feeling of we're kind of together, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're just over a really narrow table. Isabel, I want to hear about it. You've got a podcast, you've got lots of experience. Go for it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Carrie, for doing this work and providing the inspiration and the catalyst and resources. And there's so many reasons why I'm so glad I got to meet you today. And thank you, Christine, because we crisscross paths and intersect in many, many areas. First of all, I am a Canadian, born and raised in Canada, now living in the United States as a dual citizen, with my youngest daughter living in Dubai for the
Oh,
last
wow.
14, 14 years.
Mhm.
And I Um, so I bridge the whole spectrum of what you're talking about. I was raised in a very, very large nuclear family, two farm families, lots of children. My father was the eldest of 10. So I was surrounded not only, and I lived with my grandparents uh, for a
Wow.
whole year, and every weekend, every Sunday was dinner or another day at the other grandparent. So I grew up with a very strong foundation of the relationship and the value of grandparents in your life. Then I became a single teen mom at the age of 16 and was away from everybody, completely lacking a support network. So I get what you're talking about from the parent's perspective, that now you're on your own and you're figuring this all out. And boy, the opportunities to reconnect with my grandparents, who were then great grandparents with my child, were extraordinarily important to me. Um,
Beautiful.
and then through my life, I've had this opportunity through multiple marriages, not only, and the truth is, of my 9 grandchildren, which I claim as my own proudly, and they've claimed me, none of them are biological. They are all bonus children through marriage, and the children of my bonus children in marriages. So these 9 grandchildren, most of them who were born on my watch, I like to say,
Mhm.
come from different families, different geographic areas, and I'm sort of the maverick in the group. I'm the one who's moving around the world.
Mhm.
They're more stationary, although those that are now, going away to college or having started their own careers have moved also, but have been able to maintain this connection, the threads with different families, different ages, even though I'm the one who is popping in and out of airports a lot. And
Mhm.
but it's to your point, it has taken conscious effort, conscious desire to do that. And you've given me some great other ideas for maintaining that connection, because they're all very unique individuals. So for each one of those, I have a different style of communication or point of contact with them. So for some, I'm doing Instagram or TikTok stories or Snapchat, and others, I do like personal correspondence. So sending them a little something, or even at times, I just spontaneous surprise, no specific occasion, send them something in Amazon, which
Mhm.
is a lovely way. So no doubt, I got better at all of this because of the pandemic,
Mhm.
where I couldn't visit, and we all became much more comfortable with technology and Zoom. So I just want to say high five, Carrie, because with so many of us baby boomers, now moving from the nuclear model of families to the extended nomadic families in places like my own, um, being making that conscious effort and communicating in the style and on the level of the individual, as opposed to someone in my past life who thought everybody should just sit quietly and listen to, you know, the epic stories.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna just interrupt a second. Make sure you continue. I'm gonna call upon my hubby producer, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, to um, reach back into our group. See, we're just in the same room. Usually we're down the hall from each other, and we will be when we move in. But to reach into that group message and put up the links to Isabel, because now I want to make sure that and then she actually put some into our group message, Scott. Um, this is, we're just, I mean, like, I wasn't getting anything from here, and this wasn't working. And he goes, just reboot everything. So, have you turned it off and on again, is what they said in the IT crowd. It's like, no, I haven't. I've panicked. I've wondered what's wrong. I've been frustrated. None of those worked.
Well,
So, okay,
Christine,
they are the links that she gave. Oh, fantastic. Thank you,
yeah,
sweetheart.
this is
I
the value of
interrupted
wisdom.
Carrie, and I'm saying hi to Ani. Ani is saying hi to you guys, and
Come
she
on.
said, "Grandparents are the best." Isabel, I love that you claim your grandchildren. How, you know, aggressive of you. How wonderful, like your grandparents to you, that it's like, you are mine. This is a bond
Mhm.
that I don't just say, well, of course you're mine. You know what? I gave birth to the people who gave birth to you. It's like, no, I claim you. I remember you. I'm sending you something that reminds me of you, or reminds me of a time that we had together, or makes me, um, whatever. I'm so grateful that you expressed that. Carrie, have you remembered through all this what you wanted to say?
No.
Oh,
No, I'm
I
sure.
have that
I'm
effect
sure. Well,
on
what
people.
I was actually thinking about Isabel's trips through airports. That's come to mind because it's such a beautiful intergenerational place to hang out. I love watching the reunions. It's always the, younger people, older people, moms, dads, and how lovely that you have a daughter in Dubai. I had my second child in Dubai, and he was a few months old, and I'm truthfully not really cut out for maternity leave. I really enjoyed the maternity leave with my first son.
Mhm.
And then in Dubai, I kind of thought I just need to just flex my brain a little bit. And so I started what I called the Grandparent Interview Project. And I reached out to a group of expat moms in Dubai. And I suspect your daughter has, I mean, there are phenomenal groups in the UAE that are help like other expat moms. I mean, I landed there and didn't know what to do. I had one child at the time, went on, thank goodness for Facebook, found this group of expat moms and said, it's 40 degrees outside. I have a 2.5-year-old. What am I supposed to do? My husband is at work. I don't even know where I am. And so, they've been wonderful. But I interviewed a bunch of grandparents in Dubai and learned, this is where I really learned that grandparents are, to expats are actually quite worried that their grandchildren won't know them, and that they won't know their grandchildren. And I knew from experience that there were just so many ways to use technology as a tool. So of course it doesn't solve, technology doesn't on its own doesn't necessarily solve, but it definitely can provide
Mhm.
ways to connect with like you mentioned, Isabel, like TikTok for one group or Instagram for another group, and you really have to be a bit of a grand detective and
Yeah.
figure out what is it that my children are obsessed with soccer. So like all you need to do is just send anything related to soccer scores, look it up, Google what were the soccer scores today, Premier League. And my son who's 9 would talk to you about that. And my son who's 6 would talk to you about that for a
Mhm.
substantial amount of time versus how was school today? Right? He doesn't want to tell you. No one wants to tell you about that, but they want to tell you about what they're interested in. Did you play soccer at recess? Who won? Those types of things.
Um, because I know he won't be on LinkedIn at this time of the day. I will. This will be a spoiler alert. One grandson has a recent interest in Crocs and the Croc charms.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So that's what I did yesterday. Literally, was I went to research a specific Croc charm to surprise him with, and it's kind of a touchy point with him. So I'm delighting in the mischief that I can create by having found his nemesis to put on his shoe. So yeah, I think, and I love the term scaffolding. Kudos to you for that, because it's a consciously building that structure to support the relationships. And if you wanted to have them in your life, they're the children, we're the adults, right? We have the experience, the resource, the reason. Then get off your duff and go figure out how to do it. As opposed to maybe generationally before, and certainly I was raised that you have to be very respectful of your elders and you shouldn't be speaking too much unless they speak to you, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, that doesn't work today. It didn't work all that well. Fortunately, my grandparents were much more open than that. But
Well, and it doesn't, I think baby boomer grandparents today, and I share this with grandparents all the time, like you really are on the cutting edge of this because you did not video chat likely with your own grandparents. And I remember when Skype started, it really was just exciting that you could talk to someone for free in a
yeah,
different country. I have family in Ireland, and my dad was the pioneer. He told me about this thing called Skype. I did not believe him. I'm like, my goodness, he's getting scammed. What is happening? He's talking to someone in Ireland for free. I don't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. And so this kind of video chat 3.4.0 is that you can play together on video chat. But yeah, you have to be just like when you're in person, you've got to have a few things up your sleeve to keep kids interested and to get to know them. Because if the goal, you want them to get to know you. But we all know that if you're in a room with people, that listening to others is actually how you can get to know them. And so it stands to reason that doing the same with your grandchildren. So asking interesting questions like would you rather questions, are questions that are kind of fun and engaging to answer. And so, yeah, there's so many ways that you can do it, but it is about scaffolding and it is about being willing to put in the work as a grandparent.
yeah. And the rewards are exponent. It's like compound interest, right? Because once you start to build that rapport with them, then they contribute more, and it's a lot. It's a lot less like pulling their hair. It's they look forward to, well, what is she up to now? Or wait, I can't wait to tell her that this has happened. So it's a badge of honor for me to have that relationship with my grandchildren. That, as I said, they're all very diverse, different lives, but they will share things with me that they might not share with their parents, or test the water with me first. Know that it's a safe place. So that's it. I just want to go back to your comment about expats because, again, the synchronicity, Carrie, is amazing. On my YouTube channel, and Scott put up a link for that, I have a series of expat interviews with my daughter in Dubai, helping people understand what expat life means and not the misunderstandings that many people have, or the made up versions of it. So on my YouTube channel, if you're curious about what expat living is about, me and my daughter, and this was a COVID project too that we did. So.
Oh, I love that. There's
Wow.
someone else, a wonderful author named Helen Ellis, and I know she's on LinkedIn. I don't know if she's watching today, but she's written 2 books, and one is called Being a Distance Grandparent, and then Being a Distance Parent, and really trying to. And I know she's working on one called Being a Distance Grandchild that I can't wait to see. I can't wait to read it. She's in the midst of moving and downsizing, so that might take some time. But it's a great book for expats in particular because she does unpack what it feels like. I saw myself in the book so many times. You feel guilty as a parent moving away. It's this balance between trying to, strive and find financial stability for your own family, live an exciting life that, you're proud of one day, and also, being a daughter. And making sure that your children have a good relationship with their grandparents. And so, the expat piece is it's a really different type of long distance grandparenting. There are some principles that definitely, like I share this framework that I created, Your Grand Path to Connection. And it has 5 Ps: plan, partner, prepare, play, and preserve. And created that based on research about, all the things that I talked about before. But it applies whether your grandchild lives 200 miles away from you or 2,000 miles away. But there are definitely some unique features for expats because you see each other more limited times face to face, as an example. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, in talking about resources, I'm part of something called Grandparents Week next week. And I know, Christine, you had said that I think Sky reminded you that Grandparents Day on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so this is a day, Grandparents Day is always the first Sunday after Labor Day. So it's Sunday, September 8th. And Aaron Larson from Grandparents Academy decided that he's been running Grandparents Academy for a while. He is a parent like me, very influenced by his own grandparents, strong relationship, lived with his grandparents a few times over his life. And he decided, actually, we need a Grandparents Week as opposed to just a Grandparents Day, a full week to celebrate grandparents. And so I hope that Scott can put that link into our chat that you can go to and sign up. And it's free to register for the event. There's a VIP pass in case you can't watch all of the videos that week. You can click on the link and find out how it works. But I'm actually on the first day. So if you know any long distance grandparents, you can certainly send them to my talk. I talk about how to connect, broadly speaking, to grandchildren, but there are other topics about how to get along with the parents because sometimes, there's some definite issues between parents and grandparents about, this kind of new language of boundaries being so kind of infiltrated our families. And I say infiltrated because sometimes they're, not used in the most positive ways. But anyhow, there are, loads of grandparents and parents speaking at this event. So I definitely recommend it. And I'm signed up. I can't wait.
I'm going to have you repeat 3 things, Carrie. One, which one of those was it? Training.grandparents?
Yes.
Yay. Good. Excellent. And then the name of the gentleman that you just mentioned, and then that author, Helen, that you mentioned earlier.
So Aaron Larson is the founder of Grandparents Academy. And he's on LinkedIn. Maybe he's watching today or we'll see this afterwards. And then Helen Ellis, and she did her master's actually on long distance grandparenting, a qualitative study, and then wrote a book afterwards. And then, like I said, moved on to parents. So yeah, Helen Ellis, she has I think her website is being a distance family or distancefamilies.com. I think she has a newsletter and shares various resources and she has wonderful tips, just really about what it's like to be families living at a distance from one another.
Some people, I mean, when you use the word niche, I actually think of just this little crack that maybe you just need a little help stepping over. But I think of distance grandparenting, distance grandchilding as something that's becoming a grand chasm because people are going, I'm still traveling. I'm in my 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, and I'm still traveling and I still have fascination and curiosity. And I actually don't like it when I use the word still, but what I mean is I haven't sunk into the sofa. Just because I have more birthdays than you. I'm going to be moving again, possibly. I am going to be taking a 2-month time with researching in some place that's a ways away, and that doesn't mean I don't love you anymore or I'm not interested in your life. And the same with the grandchildren. So I'm excited too that you talked about these books being written so that someone can go, I never thought of it that way. Wait a minute, I could be doing this. Oh, that's made me think of 3 things with a particular grandparent, a step grandparent, an adoptive grandparent, as Isabel was talking about, that is like, I really haven't connected lately, but right now what I'm doing would make, Grandma Isabel go, booyah. I wanted to hear about that. Oh, I'm excited. I'm really glad, Ani. I'm glad that you came in, and were willing to make a comment. And I will tell you, ladies, that when these are over, someone will send me a LinkedIn message, or I will get an email saying I was actually listening, but I couldn't, access. I didn't know how to. I was too busy. My hands. But I heard it, or I heard it in replay because I realized, the time went by. So everything that you're saying is making a difference for someone. At the very least, somebody will say, I just became a grandparent, or one of my grandkids just got their doctorate. I can't believe I have a grandchild that I can call Dr. Jones, and then to say, you know what, I saw a show on that. I saw, because they are going to be on the other coast or on another continent. Yeah, I'm so grateful that you two have you use the word serious, seasoned women, serious. What was the fourth word?
Business, seasoned women, serious business, wise enough to want more. That is my podcast, and I'm excited, Carrie. I hope that you'll agree to come on and be interviewed, because my audience are women that are, 40 to infinity, uh,
Yes.
primarily business owners, but that means that so many of us have families, and today with, you know, the frequency of remarriage, we have multiple families and extended, and we become, I mean, I also live in the role of sharing those grandchildren, those bonus grandchildren, with other sets of grandparents. So to your point, I claimed them, Christine, but I'm not displacing somebody else.
No.
I think I'm just, adding more to
Mhm.
the support, the scaffolding for the grandchild, right? Again,
Mhm.
I love that term. So I want to tell you, this is extremely exciting for me. Not only is it that I'm aware now that there's Grandparent Week, but I turn 70 a couple weeks from now.
Mhm.
And
Congratulations.
yes, thank you.
Yay.
I'm not sinking into the couch either. And I particularly delight in the fact that my grandchildren say, whoa, what's she doing now? Right. And so that I think together, collectively, we can all change any residual misinterpretation of aging,
Mhm.
and
Very
that
good.
we can change this whole idea of, just because I don't live next door to you and have cookies coming out of the oven when you come home from school,
Mm.
I still love you and I'm fascinated by your life, and I celebrate you in everything that you do. So I think that's great.
And it's also, I mean, it's
Mm.
hugely, I mean, you can really use that as well in the relationship to, like, I'm not making you cookies. I am over here in Italy sending you a postcard with
Yeah.
this really cool fact, or like you have a granddaughter who's into fashion, to the people watching here, like you can use that. And I think it's the same for many grandparents are still working. And I would love to come onto your podcast, Isabel. I was on a podcast called The Cool Grandpa by Greg Payne, and
Yeah.
we talked about working grandparents and the things that you can do as working grandparents, because he's in his 50s, he's a working grandparent, and so the
Mhm.
things you can do to stay connected. So I think that there is the opportunity to pour into yourself and into your grandchildren at the same time. And so sometimes I think for some reason in aging we pitch this as like, you get to be this kind of grandparent or you get to be that kind of grandparent, when that's really not true for any stage of life.
Mm.
There are these kinds of teenagers and those kinds of teenagers. Some are athletic, some are not, right? Some like chess, or there's just different things. And it's the same thing as a grandparent. You might not want to be living next door and making cookies, but there are your grandchildren still need you, and the parents still need you to be there. You can be, a kind of chief encouragement officer is what I call it, the CEO of the GEO of the family, grand encouragement officer, because you can send text messages to your grandchildren that are just, letting them know that you're there, that you think they're wonderful, that someone else on this planet, thinks, understands their kindness or understands their desire to, be a musician or an artist or whatever that might be. So the opportunities to use technology and also to use your own travels. You're living an exciting life, as we all should be. We get one shot at this life. My grandmother used to say, life ain't no dress rehearsal. And of course, I didn't really understand that at 14 when she passed away. I was in the room when she died. I was there. I mean, I had an experience with death at a very young age. But I've always taken that to heart. Right? You get one shot at this. And so we should all, I feel like, screech in a little bit battered to our graves because we have lived life to the fullest. And in our relationships are just so key to that.
I like that, screech into our graves. Like, you know what? Not only am I going to come to the end of the road, but I'm going to be twisting like that. There's going to be dust flying up, and the people who feel left behind feel something else too. Like, wow,
Yeah,
I want to, go out, not in a blaze of glory necessarily, but I want to go out living. One of my previous guests, he and his wife had a conversation on the phone. She was actively dying and at the same time still being taken into the rehab area to continue exercises, because it's like, if I can, I will. And she said, tell me everything that you did today. Tell me everyone you talked to today. An hour later was her last breath. And he's just like, yeah, she was not waiting. She was still whatever was there, whatever desire, whatever opportunity, still doing. And I I don't know if I may put in a word, the way that he described it on LinkedIn was that he was proud of her because they were intentional. They had a short list of, let's make sure that, every week or every month that we get to know some new people, that we take a different route home, that we, just not a bucket list, a every day that we continue. And I don't know in the silence how that grief is going. I do know that this person is putting out video every day just saying, hey, take care of yourself. Now, when you're getting ready to go to bed, make sure that you turn off the screens and take some time, doing something else, because our brains need, and I'm like, great advice for living. So, grandparents, there is a different Isabel who's Isabel Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're smiling. Is that familiar to you?
Yes. Well, I thought that's who was coming on today. So I thought it was kind of all about Grant. So that's why anyhow, yes, we haven't met yet, but we definitely have plans to meet. And we're talking about the same person. Definitely helps. She helps intergenerational relationships flourish. She had something, I think, called a Grand Detective Challenge camp over the summer, where she helps grandchildren to get to know their grandparents in this way. And so she's got some lovely products, and I'm hoping to connect with her. It's one of these situations where we have tried, but if you're watching, Isabel, we will connect.
Yay. And she lives the experience of being in a location that is not the culture that her parents, her grandparents lived. previously. I'm not sure about her, but definitely her own parents and grandparents came from a completely different culture, and how important it is to do both, have both. Just, I don't even know if there's a balance, but just to have both on through life, and to be able to share that. When I was a hired caregiver, not everyone was an Oregonian, or originally an Oregonian in the state of Oregon. Some people had lived in Italy, some people had been raised in Europe, in the Pacific Rim, along the Pacific Rim, and just to, I don't know, to be known as the grandparent who pronounces those words, counts with me in more than one language, that's Isabel. Appreciate you saying, I'm not here to displace the other ones. It's like, what do you want on your banana split? Do you want pineapple? Do you want whipping cream, maraschino cherries? It's like, well, what if I enjoy all of them? They're very different. And it's like grandparents. And Carrie, I think you said that you gave birth to 6 grandparents.
I birthed.
Yes. Yeah, you birthed
I
6
birthed.
grandparents.
Mhm.
So yes, there are multiple marriages. There are people who come on the scene in different ways. None of our children are ours biologically. So we claimed them at the beginning. And when I say that my son-in-law says that I'm going to be a grandparent someday, that he's made that contract with me, verbal contract, so it's binding. Um, I'm just like, yes, and I'm not gonna worry. It's gonna be a non-issue that I didn't contribute DNA. It's gonna be a big issue that I pour myself out there, and that I listen. Both of you mentioned, listening to that person and going, make a mental note, make sure that I get back to them on that thing, because that means that this has importance even outside of me. Um, we have plenty of time. I am going to ask each of you to just talk about your, I see them over here off to the side in the comments, to talk about each of your links, why you wanted to put them there, and definitely anything else that you would like to mention today.
Go ahead, Isabel.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I am just, my wheels are spinning here. The opportunities to get to know you better and to collaborate and just to share this benefit to help other people look at things a little bit differently. I'm so intrigued by Scott's moniker, motivational listener, because in this case, I feel like I've been receiving so much. So I am probably the queen of transformation and reinvention. At least I'm a legend in my own mind. And I grew up in entrepreneurship and ran many businesses, and then built my own and sold it up, and found retirement just wasn't my thing. And that I was drawn back to the entrepreneurial world. So now I work as a business and transformation coach for women entrepreneurs. But at the same time, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I continue to reinvent and do new things. And so podcasting is something that I'm enjoying, because it gives me this similar opportunity to get to know people and know stuff I have not yet experienced in my life. A YouTuber, which is the new, great fun way for me to pretend I have a TV show. And I'm an author. And I have recently started a publishing business, and you've inspired lots of ideas for books that need to be created. this is all aligned with, and by the way, the one that I am working on this month, which will launch as part of a celebration of my 70th birthday, is how to create your own epic list. Because I prefer not to have a bucket list because of the, the unfortunate end of that, the conclusion of kicking the bucket. So for me, living my life epically has been my intention, my desire. And I also have a program called Live Your Legacy, because I think to be present and live our legacy so that we can influence it and enjoy it is far better than waiting for someone to say something nice about us after we have left the planet. Um, so I shared my link tree because I've got this diverse way I show up in the world, and my podcast. I'd love to have you all come on and listen this week and if this month, and if you like it, vote for me, because I've been named for Women in Podcasting Awards in the business category.
Yay!
How do we vote? And it's me. I mean, I know which buttons I've pushed before. How do I vote?
On my LinkedIn profile, there is a post about the award. You'll see the little nominee banner, and you can just click a link right there and it takes you. It's very user-friendly to vote.
Right.
I should have shared that. Oh, in fact, you know what? It's the top item on my link tree, Christine. Make it even easier for you. It's right there. So thank you again. I'm delighted that we have this movement to involve grandparents more actively in everybody's life and create their legacies.
I can't wait to go vote and to listen.
Yay!
Phenomenal.
Thanks.
And I love the focus on legacy. Grandparents, as you can imagine, legacy is top of mind. And I always talk about how your legacy is now. It's your relationships. It's the relationship that you are currently having. Like, your legacy for your grandchild is what you do today to reach out and connect with them. That's part of your legacy, because those are the small things that they'll remember. And I definitely talk about that in the Grandparents Week interview that will be released on Sunday. I think that was one of the links that I shared. I'm trying to now remember what links I shared. Oh, I think probably, my website is the longdistancegrandparent.com, and there are a variety of ways that you can connect with me there. You can sign up for, I call it a newsletter, but it's really a weekly tip or inspiration for long distance grandparents. I recently launched something called the Long Distance Grandparent, which we all say LDG for short because it's such a mouthful, the LDG Ideas Club. This is for those who have grandchildren ages 2 to 10. And I also have something called the Long Distance Grandparent Society. And on Sunday, we're celebrating the 4-year anniversary of the Long Distance Grandparent Society. So I have offered that membership program, started it during the pandemic, still have people, founding members who've been there from the beginning. A program that I am just immensely proud of because of the connections that have resulted, the numerous relationships that have been impacted through serving grandparents. They go out into their families and have these beautiful connections with their grandchildren. So the Ideas Club is really, it's just I'll send you a printable pack every month that has snail mail to send. And so I'm not going to send you a picture of a dinosaur to send your grandchild. I'm going to send you mail that connects. I'm going to mail that you can help them get to know you. You can get to know them. We have one-way mail, interactive mail, and then I give you video chat ideas. The Long Distance Grandparent Society, you get a pack, but it's called a Pack Plus, and you just get more. These are grandparents who are looking for more ideas. You get access to a portal that now has, hundreds and hundreds of ideas about how to stay connected to your grandchildren. But importantly, in the society, we also meet monthly. And so there are 4 different opportunities to gather with other long distance grandparents, because something that people don't often know is that, and I actually first learned this, I would say, probably from Helen Ellis, who talked about came in and spoke with my membership about the grief that long distance grandparents experience, but then also a friend of mine, Emma, who has this awesome company called helptext.com, and she's a grief expert. And when I explained to her what was happening with grandparents that I was talking to, she said, "That is grief, Carrie." That's grief. And so we talk a lot about, I mean, it is a grief for the loss of the type of relationship that you thought you might have with your grandchildren versus the one that you have. And also just a belief that you can't have the relationship when you can. And so we work through a lot of the emotional aspects of long distance grandparenting. So that's the membership program. And I have other resources on my site. I love posting. I'm really loving Instagram these days, actually. And so I'm probably on Instagram the most, where I share ideas and connect with people there. And also because I find it to be quite an educational place now. Like, I have learned about so many different people on Instagram. So I'm still on Facebook. And every once in a while I pop into LinkedIn, although lots of people are encouraging me to be here more. So I'm happy to be here. But I think you talked, Isabel, how you kind of thought retirement's not for you. And I think something similar happened to me when I was working in the university setting. And I thought, this probably isn't for me. I married someone who specializes in human rights. That's not something that you sit in the same place and do for, 20, 30 years. You move around, And so it also just really, I don't know, like I said, publishing papers. I love working with students. And am very grateful for the mentors that I've had, but I am definitely happier in a place where I get to be so creative. Like, before this call, was like designing things in Canva, mail, working with my graphic designer, mail to send, things to do, coming up with different questions to ask your grandchildren. So I have a lot of fun in the work that I'm doing now. And I really do feel grateful that I'm able to do it and to help families. It's really at the core of what I want to do, is help families and help older adults and to get the recognition that they should within their families, because they are doing important work within their families, and we need grandparents.
Ani has been saying, ladies, you are wonderful. And of course, she's right. She's medically
Ani.
trained. She's medically trained to find out how to relieve pain. And she has been on Aspects of Aging screen more than once. Isabel, this may be your third time.
I think so. Yeah.
Yay! Carrie, oh, I'm so glad I found you, or you found me. Somehow we get connected with people, and I think, you sound interesting. I just jump right in and go, hey, come. And this happens, and these collaborations. Ani says, congratulations to Isabel. And as queens do, you are celebrating your 70th on your terms, your way, by creating and expanding. Thank you for telling us about this. And yes, my hubby producer, D. Scott Smith, with that curious moniker that he lives out being a motivational listener, and he can tell you about everything. I mean, he's researched it. He's got whatever, evidence-based, etc., about being an interesting person in a room of people by being interested in that person, which brings us all back to being that kind of grandparent, and even learning to be that kind of grandchild that reaches through ways of communication and develops a relationship. Both Scott and I have traveled to people that we've only seen on these flat screens, and you're with them for a few seconds. I realize usually they're taller than I am. And after that, it's just like, oh, I can see the back of your head now. We're in 3 dimension, and boom, we go on yammering like we did when we were on screen, or maybe even only commenting on somebody's post or something like that, and it's like, oh, I hear their voice, and then we just go on. Relationships happen many different ways, and you can be with someone and be very distant from them, or distant. You can have a distance in a relationship that is an arm's length away, and you can hug someone around the world who's had something terrible happen, and they feel that hug if you just, put forth some words that you don't just click. It says, sorry to hear that, caring about you or whatever, and that's all you click and send it. If you just stop and do that for that person, what a difference, just putting things into words or into an envelope. um, I'm going to play Would You Rather in these last moments, and I only have one. If you two ladies think of another one, we have a few minutes, but you both have things to get to. So, since both of these have been brought up a number of times, and I love word pictures, I can see one. I can see one that I've seen. I can imagine one. So, would you rather climb to the top of a scaffolding that is 5 stories high and back down again? Or would you rather wear Crocs that are covered with those, what are they called? The button
Gibbets.
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 Yeah.
Thank you. I might need to know that when I get to be a grandparent. So, and would you rather wear those Crocs every day, everywhere you go, everywhere you're seen, for a week? So climb up, down once, wear them for a week. Which one's ready to answer? Would you rather?
Oh, I would take the Crocs every day of the week. I mean, do not put me up high climbing anything. Thank you very much. My goal is to never experience skydiving. Like, I want to stay in the plane always. Like, that's really my goal, not to jump out of it. So I'm going to take the Crocs, because my kids will also think, I mean, they might be, the older one will be quite embarrassed probably, because he's almost 10 and we're going through that. But yeah, no, I'll take the Crocs. And I don't like Crocs. Like, I don't like wearing them, but I'll take them for sure.
Okie doke. Yeah, you have to take, usually neither of them are in a would you rather. Neither of them are like, oh, I do that all the time.
Yes.
So now I'm going to find out, Isabel and heights or Isabel and fashion?
So easy for me to answer this because my lifetime mantra, anybody who knows me will identify with this. My lifetime mantra is lift as you climb. So I'm going to climb up that scaffold because I just am exhilarated about that opportunity to see things from a different perspective. It's not that I'm particularly brave about heights, but I agree with you, Carrie. I'm going to stay in, my ass is staying in the seat in the plane. And I am a bit of a fashion hound. So yeah, Crocs, no, not for me. So I'm
I mean,
climbing.
for that TED talk that you were read and you're like, oh no, I have to wear the Crocs.
Well, really, and that would be the name of my TED talk, Lift as You Climb,
Yes.
because it is the legacy that I would like to leave.
Beautiful.
I
Tell me
love
what
it.
it looks like up there. And if you fall, I'll be standing down there catching you in my Crocs with the very cool, fashionable gibbets, I might add.
Very cool. Okay, well, a recent episode on my podcast was about building your own emotional and inspirational trampoline as a seasoned woman. So, Carrie, you're down there. You're holding my trampoline, okay?
I'm there for you. I'm
Thank
100% there for you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, you guys have given me such word pictures. I'm
Yeah.
going to let you go 1 minute early so you can get going to all these truly important, life changing, lifting, uh, coaching, everything that you've talked about today. This was such a worthwhile hour just for me, just to know you both even better and to go, there are people doing stuff and I get to meet them on my screen. I do need to say, aging better Network. I did write a book on practical grieving on your own terms. It is a practical guide to creating your own kit, and it is Care Griever Kit. If you go on to agingbetternetwork.com, it will bring you there. Otherwise, Amazon keeps going. What you meant to say was Caregiver Kit or caregiver kit, but
Yeah.
it's caregiver kit. And then I also have a book where I put down all 52 general aspects of aging. It's not necessarily wrinkles or disease or losing energy. It's more about things like, you know, I don't like it when people pat me on the hand and say, this is kind of new. There you it's a little too confusing for you. We'll just take care of it. And it's like, I don't like that. I don't like being disregarded. I don't like being counted out because you counted my birthdays. It's things like that. And I learned from the best. I learned from almost 100 different people that allowed me to be their caregiver assistant. And because we spent so much time together, I really got to know them and what made a difference in their life as far as resources and the way that others related to them. And I agree that legacy is your relationships. You look at TV programs, even the action ones, it's about the relationship between those two people who just went pupil to pupil. That is really where it all boils down, scientific terms. That's what's at the bottom of the test tube is relationships and having the emotional intelligence to see the value there. And so that's my 52 aspects of aging in pre-act your age prompted journal, and being able to identify those and communicating it with others as you age. So those are my two books at agingbetternetwork.com. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks.
I'll see you somewhere again. And happy Grandparents' Day week.
Thanks. Happy birthday as well.
Thank
Yes, wonderful. Oh, we're so happy for you. Yay.
you.